This is the ISSP podcast. The International Society for Sports Psychiatry, or ISSP, aims to carry the science and practice of psychiatry to the athletic community. My co-hosts and I are all medical trainees, between medical students and resident physicians who plan to specialize in psychiatry. And we host conversations around the intersection between mental health and sports. Welcome. All right. We are excited to have with us today Dan The Determined Argueta. Dan is an MMA fighter whose star is really rising after appearing on The Ultimate Fighter Season 29, fighting for Team Ortega in the featherweight division. Dan's also most recently coming off an incredibly impressive TKO third round victory in the Legacy Fighting Alliance LFA's main event. And we're happy to have him with us today. Shane, how are you feeling today?
Good, man. You guys caught me on a good day, on my recovery day. It's my me day. So it was perfect to, be able to speak with you guys and end today's me day off on a good note.
We like that. We like that you're taking time for yourself too. Dan, I was wondering if you could tell us just quickly kind of about yourself and your journey to MMA in the first place.
Okay, so I'm originally from the southwest suburbs of Chicago in Illinois. I started wrestling when I was 8 years old, and I wrestled my way through high school, through 4 years of Division II college, wrestling. During those years from being a teenager to, being a collegiate athlete, I was always a captain of my team. So I always had some sort of leadership roles, exploited, you could say. I always had to show them. And, that was because of the way I grew up with my family. I have two immigrant parents, and they kind of taught me just to work. I got to work for everything I'm going to receive. And, and when I got done wrestling in college, I was actually, me and my best friend, who we were teammates since we were 8 or 9 years old. We were wrestling teammates. We were roommates in college. We were the third and fourth youngest captains in team history for our college. And I think that's what really sparked my drive to continue competing after college, because I went down a slippery slope, and that it wasn't a good look on me. It wasn't gonna translate well into becoming a full functioning adult. And that's actually when I met Cub Swanson, and he kind of got my career going, turned my life around, and now I'm living the dream. This was my dream career when I was in 5th, 6th grade. For career day, 2 years in a row, I said I want to be a professional cage fighter. And 15 years later, a teacher reached out to me and said, "Holy crap, you're actually doing it." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot about that." So everything kind of came full circle, and I'm learning from a lot of my mistakes. I think one thing people got to realize about MMA fighters, we all have our different stories. Not all of us come from crazy backgrounds. I grew up in a nice place with good people and with lots of opportunities, but I chose to go this route.
Yeah. I think a lot of people will probably imagine, a lot of bar brawlers and such going into the field. So you're saying that
hey, I had
diversity.
my fair share of those. I did those too. Those were part of my amateur career.
Also, for a bunch of guys who have to wait until their 30s to reach their dream career, must be nice to be able to do so much earlier.
Yes, definitely.
And for those who don't know, Cub is a prolific UFC MMA fighter as well. So it sounds like through him, you've been able to get a lot of mentorship. And I'm glad you two met.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, we all got different backgrounds, and him and I had completely different upbringings in life and in the sport. But one thing we have in common is kind of that vision for our life after fighting, and he's working on it now. He began working on it, years ago. And that's what I saw, and I wanted that. And something about all that told me, hey, he set the framework for me. My job is to try and do it better for that next person that I got to show the ropes to one day. And, you know, when I'm talking about like his framework in life, it's his family life, his, you know, his business life, all those ventures that he's, you know, going on to, you know, his fighting career, his, you know, being a husband, being a father, like that guy balances a lot. You know, I'm barely able to just keep up with fighting. And, you know, he's quite the character to be able to handle them all.
I'm wondering if you can tell us more about what it was like. You said you were kind of on the wrong path, and now you want to get on, and MMA helped you kind of set you back on the right path. What was that process like?
So towards the end of my college career, I was just at the bars too much. I was drinking too much. I didn't care about competing anymore. Honestly, the one thing I did have going for myself was I was focusing on my grades.
Okay.
You know, I was actually going to class. I was actually going to study hall. I was actually studying. I was doing my assignments, and I drifted away from the wrestling team. And when I wasn't doing my assignments, I was probably out drinking somewhere. And it translated right into my adult life, because as soon as I graduated, I was like, okay, time to go get a job, put on my tie. And I was still doing, you know, my same bad habits, you know, still acting that way. And I noticed myself, I was like, I'm out of shape. I can't wrestle anymore. I'm like, this isn't good for me. I'm not enjoying this. I'm not truly happy. And I started coaching at a wrestling academy. Not necessarily with aspirations of becoming an MMA fighter, but I knew that it was an option if I impressed. And I did so. I did so while having this messed up lifestyle. And that's when the coach told me, like, hey, you have to fully commit yourself. You got to change your life. If you want to do this, you got to change your life. And I was just kind of like, yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. And a couple slip ups of me doing some things that could have either got people hurt or, you know, could have landed me in jail, turned into like learning lessons that I never want to go back to those feelings. You know, after an incident, I was supposed to go out to California to go train with Cub. Mm-hmm. And this was only going to be my second time training with him. And I messed up. The coach fired me. Mm-hmm. He said, you can kiss that goodbye. And Cub hit me up like that day and said, hey, when are you getting out here? I was like, oh, yeah, actually about that. I kind of got fired for driving a school bus hungover, pretty drunk. And he was like, he was like, oh, what the hell's wrong with you? Okay, never mind. Have a good life. And I was like, what? Like, I was like, hey, man, like, if there's anything you can say, like, message coach, and, you know, I want to change my life. And that's coming from I think I was 23, 22. I was a kid. I didn't actually want to change my life yet. Let's be honest. I wasn't willing to. I didn't lose enough yet. Mm-hmm. And they took everything away from me for close to a month. And then Cub called me and said, hey, you got to meet coach at this restaurant. He wants to have a word with you. And I was like, oh, man. I wasn't drinking for like probably about 3 weeks, close to a month. And that coach was like, why should I give you this plane ticket? I had the plane ticket on the table. And I was like, coach, I'm ready. I want to change my life. I want to do this. I want to go help Cub, and I want to see if I can do this. He goes, no, you don't. You're never going to do anything. You're going to die with that bottle buried right next to you. And I was like, oh, shit. I was like, God dang. Like, he really hit it hard there. And I just remember at the end of the conversation, he was kind of like, you know what? Your Cub's problem now. Gave me the ticket and said, get out of here. And I was like, oh, sweet. I'm going to go out to California. It's going to be so much fun. Like, I can't wait. Like, yes, like my life's changing, but I didn't make any real changes yet. And I was so excited. And as soon as I got to California, Cub, like, just got done training. And I just remember him, like, pointing me in the direction of the bedroom that I was staying in.
Mm-hmm.
There was a mattress on the ground with a blanket, a pillow, and a laundry hamper.
Wow.
You say you're going to wake up in the morning, there'll be coffee out, you go for a run, get back, go work out, come back, eat lunch, we go work out again, come back, lay down, then we go train, and then have dinner, go to bed. You're not leaving the house, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. I was like, oh, this is boot camp. This is boot camp. And it was like that for about 8 weeks. And then at 8 weeks, I was like, all right, dude, so what am I doing now? Like, am I going back to Chicago? What's going on? And he was like, well, you're going to come out to New Mexico with me. We're going to do another 6 weeks out in New Mexico. So I was like, oh, okay. So we went to New Mexico, and it was the same thing. I already made a habit of all these things 4 weeks ago. And after the 6 weeks in New Mexico, I'm like, okay, so you're about to go fight. Like, should I go find tickets to Chicago yet or what? Because I didn't even have a return flight.
Sure, yeah.
And he was like, oh, no, you're coming to my fight with me. So then I was going to a UFC fight with him. And I was like, oh, sweet. And after his fight, he won. And I'm like, so what now? He's like, I'm going to fly you back to New Mexico. You're going to stay there for a week and drive my car back to California. And we're going to get you ready for a fight. So another 2 months of staying with him, training, and then 6 months later from that incident, I had my first amateur fight. And it was all through Cub, him putting me through that. Now that I look back at it, it wasn't really boot camp. It was just, let's do things correctly. Let's do things the correct way, the things that I should have been doing in college where I could have reached that next level, but I didn't have anyone take everything away from me yet. So that kind of sparked my nickname, The Determined. As soon as they had me on that route, I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing every day. And I did it for years. And I had goals where I was like, okay, be the best person in this gym. Okay, be the best person here. Be able to do this. Be able to walk around with an 8-pack year round. Be able to just be a freak where people are in shock when they see the amount of effort I put into this game. And it's really changed my life. It really did change my life. Wow.
Appreciate you kind of just reflecting back on, those earlier steps towards this career. I even wanted to kind of just ask you, like, how recognize, like, you were always talented, like you were chosen as a captain, like during the wrestling squad, one of the youngest. So you had the talent, but being able to kind of harness it and it translate to you producing and being recognized and kind of seeing within yourself that you were this person who was capable of getting to these next steps. And you started speaking to a little bit of some of the things that you would, you put motivation, you had goals for yourself, the things that you were chasing. Could you kind of just talk about either from your coaching or some of the only major goals that you set for yourself that helped you reach these major, milestones for you as far as getting to your first fight, winning your first fight, things like that?
Okay. Well, the first goal, I went big. I said, I want to be a world champion one day. I told my dad, I want to be a world champion. He was like, okay, wow. Well, like, what does that mean? Like, you got to start somewhere. You're going to have to hit milestones. And I'm like, okay, I want to be the best guy in this gym. This gym's the best guy gym in the world. I want to be the best guy in that weight class, in that gym. I think I did it. I think I just cracked it this year. And I'm like, hell yeah, I did that. I told my dad as well. I said, I'm going to be in the UFC when I'm 28 years old. I said this when I was 22, 23. I was this close. I was this close. I lost on the Ultimate Fighter. But after my last fight, we got a call from the UFC. So I was like, oh, wow. Like, I said it. I focused on it for 4 or 5 years. And I kind of just almost forgot. Everything kind of meshed together. It's weird. Like I deep down, I still feel like that rookie that hasn't accomplished quite as much. You know, you see these guys up on the wall next to me, and the world champions, they're Hall of Famers, they're some of the best to ever do it. And those are the guys I surround myself with. And that's how I keep that rookie mentality, you know, and it's kind of strange because they all know my goals. I know my goals. And they never felt real until one day someone tells me, hey, you did this. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like, that was quick. They're like, yeah, that was only 5 years. So I was like, shit. Those small little accomplishments kind of kept me going. Like, if I didn't reach those little accomplishments, I probably would have quit, to be honest. But I met them. I forgot about them. Someone told me when things were low or down, and I was like, oh, I did do that. Okay, I'll keep going. And I keep going.
And that's a really important thing to think about too, right? And there's a correlation between that and mental health in general, right? When we have these mountain-sized goals, whether it be world champion or whether it to be just not depressed or not anxious, taking these sort of mountain-sized accomplishments and breaking them down into achievable goals that you can track over time is really important. It can be hard to say, okay, well, it's hard for me to get out of bed, let alone kind of go back to work and feel good, right? But if I can say, hey, I'm just going to make sure I get out of bed at the same time every day, right? That goes a long way. Same thing to, I want to be in the UFC, right? But I gotta make it on the show. I gotta take these other fights. I gotta go to the gym every day, right? Like you kind of are able to track your progress until before you know it, right? You're in the big show.
Yep. One way to put it that a lot of people like, I don't know, I think you know this. I work with a lot of special forces guys, so a lot of guys that were the best Rangers, the best Navy SEALs. They all went into a special missions unit together. And the way they explained it to me, like by the time they were ready to retire, was you don't climb Everest in one push.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make it to a base camp. Oh shit, weather might be bad here. Got to go back. Now you got to go again. This time you got to bring 3 extra people with you. Okay, now you got to go back. Now you got to bring only 2 people in it. That's kind of how I would explain, not only an MMA career, but just, a career, life in general. That's how I kind of explain even my relationship with my girlfriend. It's like, she's trying to achieve something. People think it's cool that I want to be in the UFC and I want to be a world champion. You know what I think is cool? The fact that she's busting her ass. She's putting herself through USC dental school, top of her class.
Wow.
She's the ADA representative of her class at USC. I'm like, that's cool. Like that. I've seen the hours she puts in. That's cool. I can't do that. I can't do that. And when it comes to both of our careers kind of meshing together, like, how often do you hear of a pro MMA fighter dating a dentist?
Yeah, I mean, you knock guys' teeth out and she puts them back in. It's a perfect match of harmony.
I give her a job.
Employing dentists one fight at a time. Wow, you're true saint.
And it sounds like you're probably gonna keep her in work and got a good job for a while with the work you're doing, man.
It goes back to the climbing Everest. It's sometimes I'll get full of myself. I'm doing everything. Your time doesn't matter to me. If you're lonely, it doesn't matter to me. Like if you're sad, it doesn't matter to me. I'm trying to climb Everest. And then I start seeing little things and pieces fall apart in my life. And I'm like, we're like little kids, we're like, oh, I got to go back to mom. I got to go back to my girlfriend. And then her arms are always open. But then it helped me realize, oh, I can't do this by myself. And neither can she. So, we kind of have to pull each other up that mountain together. And it really helped me kind of like see those small milestones, because I get to see it with another person, or I have someone that is going to tell me like, hey, relax, like you got the call, you're there. like what you don't know is that when I got that UFC call, I fucking bawling my eyes out because they asked me to make weight in 6 days, which that would have been a 30-pound weight cut in 6 days. So we had to say no, and we said, I'll be ready for the next one.
Wow.
People don't know that part. And only she can share that with me because she's the only one that has seen the diet, the running, you know, the long nights where I get home from training at 10 o'clock at night, put on my running shoes, and I'm outside in the parking lot running at 11, running for an hour, 90 minutes out there. And she sees that.
Dan, I like, it's impressive, man. I think like you do touch a really good point that we, you know, a lot of times we see with our patients, we have them in therapy. We want to, you know, really want them to have a positive, you know, outlook and optimistic outlook. And, you know, there's positive psychology. There's also goal setting that you're doing. And those are like, you know, techniques that we use in CBT usually for our patients where, you know, we want them to have, you know, a optimistic outlook instead of a more pessimistic outlook. So they have more, it opens up their opportunities or more options, more, you know, open up their vision, right? And then also, you know, like the goal setting, like you're saying. But just even with that now, you know, you're talking about your training. Could you walk us through, you know, your mental process for, you know, a fight, for a training camp, and then, you know, when like, you know, you're in the ring, you know?
Okay. It's kind of weird because it does do like almost like a full 360. If you want, I could start you from the top.
Wherever you want, man.
Okay, so usually for fighters, you know, I shouldn't even say that. Usually for, is my sound on? Okay. Usually for like me and my training partners, the guys I surround myself with, we're 365 athletes. You know, we're in the gym once a day at least. And not everyone's like that. There's some guys that only train when they have fights. They only train a month out of their fight. You know, but not us. We care too much about this. So like right now, I don't necessarily have a fight yet, but I'm training. I'm getting my body in shape. I'm getting ready for those feelings that I'm gonna feel. The first one starts with when they have your opponent. It is the weirdest, rawest feeling ever when they give you a name, and in the back of your head, you're like, how long has he known that he was going to fight me? Has he been training for me? Has he known that he was going to fight me for a long time? Oh no. Like, oh man, this guy looks tough. He looks good. Oh, he's friends with this guy. Oh, he trains with him. Oh. And all of a sudden, you know, for the first 4 or 5 days that I have an opponent, I'm getting an anxiety cough. I cough all day long. I'm coughing. I'm out of breath. And it's a weird, strange feeling because you're like, you know, you're only thinking negatives for like 3 or 4 days. You know, there's nothing exciting about seeing some dude. You watch some dude's highlights of him smashing someone. There's nothing exciting about that. You're like, oh, this guy's scary. Like, oh, shoot, I got to fight him. And the next wave after those first couple of days is, wait 1 second. That guy has to fight me. I'm a bad dude. That guy has to fight me. I wonder how. Then I start like laughing because I'm like, I wonder how scared he is. You know, because me, I was just a little nervous at first, but I wonder how scared he is of me. You know, he sees who I'm around. He sees what I'm up to. You know, I always try to think of myself, I'm the main attraction. And then those waves of, you know, feeling bad for yourself that you got to go against that person start to go away. Mm-hmm. And it becomes more of a, how do you say it? Almost like a routine. You go numb to it. That's why all these years mesh together. Yeah. You know, now I'm just numb to it. I wake up, I have my coffee, I pet my dog, I play on Instagram, you know, watch a couple videos, pack my bag, go to training. And
Let's talk more about those two things, right? Affirmation and routine. So that affirmation, right? You feel your anxious self talking about, okay, well, what's going to happen? Who is this guy? This guy is a professional killer too, right? But then you sort of combat that anxious self with the affirmations. Hey, I didn't just show up, right? They picked me, right?
Yeah.
That's why I'm going to go in here. And by the way, I've taken care of some dudes myself, right? And so that sort of battling is what we often talk about in therapy, where we say, hey, tell yourself affirmations every day if you need to. That say, again, I deserve to be here. I didn't just show up here on accident. And matter of fact, I'm pretty good at this thing that they're asking me to do, and I think I can do that.
Yeah, I agree. That is, I do it a little differently. Like, one thing I can always count on is I could take a hit and I don't get tired. So whenever I'm like thinking, I'm like, oh, shoot, man, this dude kicks me in the head, I might go to bed. It's like, oh, in front of my mom. Oh, like it's stuff like that. And I'm like, wait, I get kicked in the head all the time. He kicks me in the head, he better knock me out because I'm gonna hurt him. Now it's my turn. And I start thinking, oh man, what if this goes into the second round, third round? Like 15 minutes, it's a long time in there. And I just start, because you feel those feelings of being tired, hands are heavy, feet are heavy, your lungs are hot. And I'm like, if I feel like that, this guy might feel like he's in hell. So yeah, okay, I'm cool with that. I can feel that. I think one thing that people they make a mistake of is whenever you hear, oh, you fight, you get punched in the face for a living. Like, oh, I could never do that. Well, I don't even getting punched and kicked and elbowed. That's not even like a thought or fear anymore. I'm never really, I'm not afraid of that stuff. It's kind of weird. I'm more afraid of the result and the uncertainty. I'm more afraid of, oh man, am I going to perform tonight? Luckily, I've performed on all my fights. I'm a gamer. I like to show up, and I get so afraid of not showing up and not performing and losing that it forces me to leave it all out there. And that was my issue when I wrestled. I didn't do that. But now the stakes are a little bit higher. I don't want to lose anymore. It doesn't feel nice.
You had started touching on too some of like we want to kind of point them out as like rituals almost. Stereotypically, people say athletes always have something that they always want to do before a fight or as they're training. Or just curious if you think you have anything that you always maybe never thought about it, or maybe you're like, yeah, I have to do this, I have to eat this, I have to go to this place. Anything that you do that kind of like ease?
No, not necessarily like stuff like that. Mm-hmm. There's like a couple things that creep in, and it always hits at different times. Like the first thing is the initial fight nerve of, oh man, like I got to get into a fight today. Like this time for this last fight, those nerves didn't hit me until the day of the fight. I'm sitting there having a cup of coffee with my dad because I got to fight at home. And my dad's like, how do you feel? I'm like, damn it, I got to get into a fight tonight. I'm like, oh, that sucks. That sucks. And it hits at different times. Like I've had it where it hit 2 weeks before the fight, a month before, a week before. It's always different. Every fight's different. But like as soon as I know that feeling hits, it's real. It all of a sudden becomes real. All the training, all the preparation is real. None of my other rituals matter. As long as that feeling happened, I'm good to go. That's how I think of it. As for like rituals, my friends laugh at me. I'm the last living mall rat. I love just going to a mall and walking around and like these last couple fights I did pretty well where I'm like, okay, I'm going to get some new sneakers. I'm going to get some new Jordans. And then I'm like walk around and I'm like, okay, I don't need Jordans anymore. 2 days later, I see another pair. I'm like, I'm going to get these. These are going to make me feel good for now. And it turned out, you know, this last fight, I got a sponsorship from a resale shop. So I like, it was weird. I ended up having to get another piece of luggage to bring all my shoes back to California.
Wow.
They gave me,
like that.
Yeah, they gave me 6 pairs of Jordans. And they're like, yeah, we'll give you some cash too. And I'm like, damn, me being a mall rat really paid off. You know, that little shit of me wanting to walk around the mall and just look at people, you know, finally see kids running around in public again. And usually that was it. Just, you know, one reason I like to like go away from my camp, like the last week or two, I don't want anyone telling me what time to be home, where to, like, no one tells me like what time to be home, but like if I show up at 6 o'clock one night and then 10 o'clock the other night, my girl's gonna be like, where the hell have you been? But when I'm away at camp, I'm like, I'll walk around the mall till that thing closes. I'm just walking around, not even buying anything, just walking around, looking around. I want to go hike by myself. I want to do whatever I want. I always tell myself I'm going to do whatever I am feeling. I got to take, once my training's taken care of, I can do whatever I want to keep myself in that right headspace I need to be in and just flow. I did all the preparation. I'll just flow.
But you deserve that after putting all the work in. And, you know, we know we buy into rituals a little bit because, as you say, you're in the gym 365. So that's what we know, right? Putting in a place that brings us comfort as opposed to having a jar in the new schedule helps athletes be back in a place where, again, they feel comfortable and they know they can perform well. But man,
I never thought about being in the gym as a ritual.
Absolutely.
I just thought it was my job.
It could definitely be both.
I was on the phone with my mom today and I was like, she's like, so are you training? I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, good. I'm like, it's my only, I'm unemployed. It's my only job right now. She's like, yeah, it is. And I'm like, yeah, so I'm in here. It's the only thing I do. And I guess it's relieving to know that not everyone is like that, you know, and that I get to be one of those few that I understand the importance of it. I understand that even if I'm not training, I'm in there watching these guys train because it's going to bring up feelings that like, oh, I should train, or hey, my body's beat up, but I'm at least learning, I'm listening, I'm watching. That's going to send something somewhere in my brain telling me, hey, it's time to train. Like it's good to be stuck in the gym.
And I know you have a busy day today, and I know it's your rest day, but I just appreciate you spending time with us. It was awesome getting to talk through your journey.
Dude, I set up the whole night. My girl went to class. And I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be on this call. I'm excited for it. Like, everyone asked me, what are you guys gonna talk about? Like, everyone in my family, I kind of told them, I was like, because they don't know anything about sports psychologists, and I'm like. Yeah. The best way to explain it was it helps me, basically that mental diary that I have going on. Mm-hmm. It helps me rehash everything. Mm-hmm. And, you know, whether you guys tell me like, hey, have you ever thought of this or thought of this? Mm-hmm. It kind of gives me new approaches to how to handle things that I might be dealing with. They were like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. I'm like, yeah, I feel like everyone should be able to, you know, speak out their diary for a time being.
Absolutely. So folks can follow you on social media at Dan The Determined. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And any fights coming up soon? Anything you announce on our grand platform over here?
Nothing yet. We gotta, you know, I can now say that I've been offered a fight from every major organization on the planet.
Okay. Things going up for the boy.
Yeah, I did that. Within 2.5 years of my professional career, I can now say that. But we're waiting on the right opportunity, the right fight that's gonna push me in the right direction. So that's about it.
Hopefully, more bags of Jordans to come. If you want to send some my way, don't be a stranger.
Dude.
All right, thanks so much, Dan. Thanks so much, Dan, for your time, and we hope to follow. Good luck, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching or listening to our content today. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube and podcast channels and share this episode with your friends and colleagues. Also, follow us at Sports Psych ISSP on Twitter and Instagram, or you can find us on Facebook as the International Society for Sports Psychiatry. Are you a medical student, psychiatry resident, fellow in a psychiatry subspecialty fellowship program, or a psychiatrist who has completed a psychiatry residency program interested in learning more about sports psychiatry? Join us and become a member of the ISSP. We have a free open source certificate of additional training in sports psychiatry program. For more information about our certification program, membership, or other inquiries, go to our website at sportspsychiatry.org.